campaigned on a promise to bring prices down.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Many businesses are being helped. What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune. They have a new person named Crockett. She's definitely a low IQ person.
But you said even dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Well, there you go again. Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people. Why don't you ask it a different way?
Border crossings are at their lowest level ever recorded.
So President Trump sat down for an interview with Kristen Welker, the host of Meet the Press. And to understand exactly where this interview went, all you have to do is pay attention to the way she is asking questions. Now, this comes as we are now 100 days into his second term. Let's start with prices.
Well, prices are already going up on some popular items. Tires, strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person. And that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the price of energy. It went up to $3.90, even $4, and in California, $5 and $6, right? Okay. I have it down to $1.98 in many states right now. When you go that much lower on energy, which is ahead of my prediction because I really thought I could get it down into the 250s. We have it down at $1.98 in numerous places. But when you say costs are going up, even mortgage rates are going down.
Okay, so here's what you need to know up front, all right? President Trump has to defend himself. He chose to do this interview after 100 days in office. I don't believe that is enough time to see the economic impact of his policies. We're really going to see where we're at and if it's effective a year from now. I'm still holding that as truth. Now, that's not going to stop mainstream media from flipping the script and manipulating what he is saying. So allow me to focus on the facts. Two main ones here. One is mortgage rates. They are down. Last year, they were 7.1%, and right now they're sitting at 6.76%. And in regards to gasoline, that is down as well. Last year was $3.60. Now it's at $3.15. So both of those are down.
Well, but let me give you some examples. These are actual examples. So you're saying the prices that are going down, some prices are going up. Tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your tariffs.
Excuse me, that's peanuts compared to energy. Energy is 60% of the cost.
But sir, you campaigned on a promise to bring prices down on day
Well, I don't know. When you say strollers are going up, what kind of a thing? I'm saying that gasoline is going down. Gasoline is thousands of times more important than a stroller someplace.
But what do you say to Americans who say they voted for you because they want and they need relief right now?
And they're getting it.
Right now? What about those
even mortgage rates?
different items I just
Mortgage
mentioned?
rates are going down despite the fact that we have a stubborn Fed.
But you said even dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might, but you don't need to have, as I said, $35. You can have 2, 3, 4 and save a lot of money. We don't need to feed the beast.
Yeah, so that's the type of line that mainstream media is going to take and spin. Obviously, it's something that everybody has thought about once or twice. We all know that children really don't need $30, okay? That's more of a luxury, not a necessity. And so he's right. When you're trying to govern an entire country and find ways to bring prices down, you wouldn't be prioritizing the price of dolls. You would be prioritizing the price of gas, mortgage rates, grocery prices, right? Credit card interest rates, of course. And here's the other reality, just so we're all clear. The president can only do so much. Ultimately, this comes down to the Fed and whether or not he will lower rates.
Do you rule out removing Fed Chair Jerome Powell?
I'm not, I get to change him very quickly anyway. It's in a very short period of time.
In 2026. You're not going to you don't have plans to remove him before 2026 when his time's up?
That was a total, why would I do that? I get to replace the person in another short period of time.
Two main things. Number one, Jerome Powell's term ends May 15th, 2026. So we're 1 year out from that. And number two, to Trump's credit, he changed his tune about the Fed. I mean, you got to be honest here. In the very beginning, he was calling for Jerome Powell to be terminated. And so for all those detractors and criticizers of President Trump saying that he's stubborn and he's never going to back down from a fight, he clearly changed his tune when it came to this. Now, this is the part of the interview that gets down to the core debate. One side sees businesses being hurt by President Trump and these tariffs, and another side sees businesses being helped by President Trump and these tariffs. And of course, they both clash over it. Take a look.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you
Look at the
considering
automobile
tariff
business.
relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what Trump's done for the automobile, I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say, the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
All right. Now, before I give you the facts about what he just said, if you guys have been getting value from our channel and this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate to the show, all you have to do is go to the link in the description below and buy us a cup of coffee. And you can listen to the audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So let's just focus on the facts one more time. Small business in the eyes of the SBA is 500 employees or less. How many small manufacturing businesses in the United States? At least 600,000. They make up 98% of the manufacturing industry. So when she's asking him about small business, he's thinking manufacturing businesses, not the small business on Main Street selling antiques, okay? Now, I have to say that because I know what mainstream media will say. They'll take that line and spin it to make him look bad. So I just want to deliver the other side to it.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now. And I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job on everything.
That is a classic Trump response. And again, mainstream media will take that line as well and spin it to their own narrative. But part of it's true, actually. I mean, if you think about it, we're only 100 days in. And a lot of the stuff that really needs to change that has been bad for the economy clearly is going to take some time. So I think he's right in that regard. However, he's still responsible at the end of the day. And that's why I say true judgment's going to come right before the midterms.
Sir, you acknowledge when you announced your tariffs, for example, the stock market dropped. It's been volatile. It has since gone up.
It is,
Do you
but now
take
it's going up.
responsibility
Look at
for
today.
that? Yeah. Do you take responsibility when it drops?
Ultimately, I take responsibility for everything, but I've only just been here for a little more than 3 months. But the stock market, look at what's happened in the last short period of time. Didn't it have 9 or 10 days in a row or 11 days where it's gone up? And the tariffs have just started kicking in. And we're doing really well. Psychologically, I mean, the fake news was giving me such press on the tariffs. The tariffs are going to make us rich. We're going to be a very rich country.
Now, if you were listening carefully, you heard him state that ultimately he is responsible. And so he is aware that the buck stops with him. Now, I'm saying that out loud because, again, Monday morning, you will see headlines from mainstream media that says, President Trump claims that the economy is not his responsibility, right? I mean, that's just the way that it goes. And so I just want to kind of show you guys both sides to it. Now, let's move to the other pressing issue, and that is immigration.
Let's talk about the border.
Okay.
Let's talk about deportations. Border crossings are at their lowest level ever recorded. Is the border
Is that good?
Is the border now secure?
Yeah, it's really secure.
It's absolutely
Isn't that good?
secure.
When you say that, doesn't that just sound good? After being abused for years by an incompetent president that allowed people to pour through an open border, criminals from all over the world, murderers and insane people from mental institutions and insane asylums. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you say it's the most secure it's ever been in the history of our country? Isn't that a nice statement?
And that's why President Trump, in my opinion, treats the media the way that he does, because he knows they're not honest and they intentionally mislead people. Think about the coverage so far into his administration the first 100 days. How many times have you seen CNN, MSNBC, ABC, even News Nation celebrate and acknowledge the history that has been made with how secure the border is? Just think about that for a second. And that's just the networks. What about the newspapers, and the blog websites? So, I mean, I understand his frustration behind it, but at the end of the day, history will show that he did the right thing here. Even though Democrats continue to claim that he is an authoritarian leader, they compare him to Hitler, they say he wants to be a king, he's breaking the Constitution in half, all of these talking points, of course, and he did react to that. Take a listen.
What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states by a lot. A lot of people were surprised. I said, I think he could win 4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won, actually, I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. But let me just say, so when you make these statements about, people say this, well, they had their chance at the election and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Those people are going to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope that they're going to be right.
Yeah, so results do tell the story. I'm happy the president sees it that way. It's the same standard we should always apply to the president of the United States and Congress. We did it for Joe Biden, and the results showed us that he was incompetent and committed malpractice on the job. Now, President Trump also had something to say about Jasmine Crockett, who happens to be the new leader of Democrats. Take a listen.
I look at the Democrats. They're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said, you have to be kidding. I don't know what they're going to do. And I really believe in a two-party system. Because it's good to be challenged. It's really good to have a two-party. It's good. Being challenged is okay. It keeps you sharp. I don't know what they're going to do. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something. And Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people, because he was grossly incompetent, and I think maybe for artificial reasons. He had operations and things, so maybe that's an artificial. But I know people that are unbelievably sharp, and they're older than 87. But I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job, but he's still sharp. He's sharp as he's the same guy he was. He hasn't gone down. But Biden is he's the worst thing to happen to old people.
Well, in regards to Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, I think history will remember him, but for the wrong reasons, okay? I think he's one of the worst, not the worst, but one of them. And there's multiple reasons, one being border security, 2 is the preemptive pardons, 3 is the blanket pardons for his family members, and let's not even get into his mental acuity. So I think he'll be remembered for the wrong reasons. Now, that begs the question, who does President Trump believe should be the 2028 presidential candidate for the Republican Party? I think he gives a hint here. Take a listen.
I know that you are only 100 days in, but as we sit here today, who do you see as your successor, Mr. President?
Well, it's far too early to say that, but I do have a vice president, and typically it would be, and JD's doing a fantastic job.
He would be at the top of the list?
It could very well be. I don't want to get involved in that. I think he's a fantastic, brilliant guy. Marco is great. There's a lot of them that are great. I also see tremendous unity. But certainly you would say that somebody's the VP. If that person is outstanding, I guess that person would have an advantage. But I think the other people would all stay in unbelievably high positions. But, it could be that he'd be challenged by somebody. We have a lot of good people in this party.
Well, clearly, if there was a primary today, J.D. Vance would obviously lead the pack. I don't think there's any question about that. And I don't believe he has to do anything over the next 4 years. Just continue to show up, answer questions, be where you're needed. I think he's already kind of cemented himself as a leader just based on how he performed during the campaign of last year. And I don't think people will forget that. So that's how I see it. And how I see President Trump potentially serving a third term, that is just him trolling the media. And of course, Kristen Welker takes the bait. Take a listen.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican, to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
So for all those Democrats that tried to use that talking point as a way to amp up the base, like, hey, see, he's an authoritarian leader. He's going to try to run for a third term. You know, he wants to stay in office forever. It's childish sometimes, these talking points that these politicians come up with. It just blows my mind. As you can see in the interview, President Trump is not stupid, okay? Clearly his team loves trolling the media, loves to troll the left, and they eat it up. And if they would just stop reacting to every little thing that he does, they wouldn't look so stupid, right? I mean, what's wrong with selling hats that say Trump 2028 if people buy them? It's simple supply and demand. That's how I see it. I don't know. And finally, we're on to this topic that Democrats have been so obsessed with, which is due process. And she did ask the president about that. And I think you will enjoy his response. Take a listen.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to the United States?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
Now, based on everything he just said, sounds like common sense to me. But people on the left, particularly Democrats, will claim that this is him admitting out loud that he's looking to defy court orders, particularly the Supreme Court of the United States. I would push back and say that's false. And the reason why is because he's doing what every single president in history has done. They have an agenda. They appoint an attorney general, and their job is to make sure that every decision the president is making is in alignment with the U.S. Constitution, because we know it's up to interpretation. An example of that, the left claims when an individual crosses the border illegally, they're not a criminal. And on the other side, according to the U.S. Constitution, you committed a crime, which by default makes you a criminal. So it's up to interpretation. You guys understand what I'm saying? Now, let's actually get your response in the comment section below to this entire interview. There was so much that he discussed, but I want to focus on 3 things. One is prices. Do you see a decrease when it comes to mortgage rates or fuel costs or electricity costs in your area? Also, what about tariffs? Has that negatively impacted you, or have you seen some positive benefits from it in your own industry? And finally, the presidential candidate of 2028, who do you believe it will be? Let me know all those answers in the comment section below. Now, as mentioned earlier in this interview, President Trump said the emergency is no longer on the border. The emergency is the judicial tyranny that is taking place, where judge after judge continues to rule against the president. And that happened yesterday. So if you missed out on that story and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video, because it's coming up right now.